Welcome to Spearo Diaries podcast with Laura and Elise, two Kiwi mermaids chatting to Spearo humans, yarning about spearfishing and detailing our diving adventures.
We love interviewing interesting and inspirational Spearos and getting their perspective on how they began their personal journey into the lifestyle we love. Let us fill your ear holes with why they enjoy spending time with fins on and a spear gun in hand.
This episode is a delightful conversation with another unself-promoting gem of the sport. He is very modest about his abilities with a holistic view of the diving pastime. He has a warm way of describing his enjoyment for the spearfishing discipline and underwater adventure.
So here it is, Spearo Diaries podcast, episode 18, Genuine Gem and Seasoned Slayer, Simon Jones. Okay, so we are at the home of one of the most genuine human beings that we know in the Auckland Spearo crew. He is a member of the Bluefins Club, a spearfishing fundamental legend, generally just part of a great community of humans. A couple of weeks ago, we did have this booked in to interview with Simon, but unfortunately, Laura decided that it was more important to go spearfishing, and I'd say that's the only reason you're allowed to cancel on someone these days. And sorry to all our friends who don't spearfish, but you know how life is. You invite us to things, and we say, yeah, we'll be there if the weather's bad. So that's kind of how it is. We're really excited to capture some of your wisdom, experience, and hear some of your ocean stories. And we're lucky enough to have dinner with you tonight and your lovely wife, Annika. It was beautiful. We had an incredible broth. So you've said to us that the podcast should be titled The Most Boring Spearo Ever. And frankly, if you've got two girls in their 30s thinking that you're pretty interesting, you must be interesting.
And honestly, we couldn't think that is more further from the truth. And when we first started talking about interviewing people, we just, you're one of the people we've had chats with after comps and after training, and we just hear more and more quality yarns and stories, and that's half the reason we want to have these chats. So, you know, a man of many pursuits, sailing, motorbiking, your work as, and I've probably got this wrong, a blood scientist, making your own fiberglass plats. We just think you're anything but boring. And welcome Sir Simon to the Spearo Diaries podcast.
Oh, thank you very much.
And we thought it was important we do this with, all of our episodes to try and link into how we know people. So our connection to you we'll explain soon. But we know you to be a wise, supportive and calm human to be around. We also find you really inspirational that, you're still competing and you're still diving, and that the level of fitness and competitive skill that you portray. But we also think you have a very odd sense of humour, which we enjoy.
Which fits in perfectly with us.
Yes, it does. Our connection to you, Simon, as we met you via, and honestly, everyone's probably super sick of hearing this on the podcast, about the fact that we've met everyone from fundies spearfishing. But that is one of the ways we have met many people, but we also know you from the Bluefins.
It's also our fastest way to force people into being interviewed. So thank you, Spearfishing Fundamentals.
Hey, they're an encyclopedia of great humans, and you were one of them. We also were thinking about some of the times we've spent with you and how we got to know you. And it wasn't long until Elise and I had both felt very unwell for work one weekday. And we were invited for a local diving adventure with you. And I vividly recall arriving to this house, actually, and being welcomed into your garage where there's a bunch of motorbikes and a bunch of spearfishing stuff. And you explaining that you had made these plats. And at the time, I was just like, what? I've got a plastic float boat, and you're pointing out that you've made these plats. And I just thought that was really amazing. We had the treasure that day of going out with you on your boat, which I can't remember the name of or the type, but I think it was yellow, and it is your dad's. Have I got the colour wrong too?
You got the colour wrong. The plats are yellow.
The plats are yellow. But I have a photo of you.
But Barbie
it's
is...
Barbie.
Barbie.
Yeah.
There you go, at least remembers. I've got a photo of it standing in front of it.
It's not named after Barbie the doll. It was my cousin from... my mum's cousin from England. His wife was Barbara, and it got called Barbie.
And we'll ask you more about the boat and the story of the boat and your dad's vessel later on. But yes, we got the pleasure of going out on that with you. And you spotted a green turtle that day. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do.
I remember because I was just like, what the heck? This guy's just casually come over and told us, oh yeah, by the way, girls, I saw a green turtle. I was going to come let you know, but I was swimming with it and I was watching it, so I left you guys to it.
And this was diving in like murk, so like you dive down and by the time you get to the bottom you can start seeing things.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you guys and me were, too far apart. There was a reef between us and a rock, and I couldn't see you. I couldn't get your attention. So
I saw.
Yeah, but it was a really big turtle too. It's the biggest one I've seen in New Zealand by far. Yeah.
Well, we were too busy focusing on goatfish. So I got my first goatfish with a lease, and it was also one of the first times that I properly dived with a lease, and it was a really cool day. And I was thinking back too to other times I spent with you and how you and I had planned to go, I think, for a swim to the outpost. And then we got to the edge where we looked in and it was basically going to be horrific. And so we went to my very first and only adventure to Goat Island and swam around the marine reserve without guns, which for me was new. I hadn't been in an ocean diving in all my kit and free diving without a gun, so that was really cool. And I genuinely remember just being stalked by these big-ass snapper.
Yeah, I remember that. You were scared of them.
Yeah,
and
I was like...
too. They looked as though they were going to try and eat us.
And I had heard stories that they're taking children's fingers at this marine reserve, so when I remember just seeing you swimming along, and there was like probably up to 20 or 30 snapper just like really like quite intensely following us.
Yeah.
But yeah, following on from that, like I just remember watching you in the water and just thinking, this guy is so relaxed and so connected to the ocean environment. And it was really cool for me to just be, not trying to hunt fish and actually just watching some of these fish. And I remember thinking, I wish I'd been taken here to see the blue mountain snapper before I went spearfishing. But yeah, that was...
Sorry.
Oh, not insulting the leather jacket adventure that I had with you. That was also great. But yeah, and I just hope that when I've been diving as long as you have, that I still want to go and frolic in the marine reserves.
But those snapper don't behave naturally there, though. They've been fed. They come for dinner time. So the only other place I've seen snapper that look a little bit like that is on the west coast, where they haven't seen a human before.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone this afternoon who's an avid fisherman, and he was saying back in the 80s and 90s that on the west coast the fish were, like the snapper, were quite decimated in the area, and so like it's only since then that they've come back in full force because they've stopped being able to dredge along that side. So it's interesting to see that. Simon, we're also headed with you to South Island very soon in December, to Stewart Island.
Well, yeah, Peter and I are going to hopefully book our tickets tomorrow.
Ooh,
so
do it.
We need to talk to you guys.
Talk to me about accommodation. I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it ready for you. Well, Ryan does, on behalf of Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. But we amped it up for it. And yeah, we're enjoying the quality time that we have with you. So thank you for being here today.
And yes, we've got a number of questions for you. So we're going to start out with our little personal intro favourite, which is how did your spearfishing journey begin? Sort of like where were you and what age?
Right. My parents used to take us over to Coromandel every Christmas, and we used to have a tent site booked at Long Bay Motor Camp at Coromandel. And we used to, when my dad built the little boat that I now use, Barbie, yep, we would end up going out to these lovely little bays sort of up the coast of Coromandel. Oh, it's on the west side of Coromandel, so it's not clear, but I started snorkeling around reefs and things, and I'd start seeing fish. So I started off with a piece of wooden dowel with a spike on the end that I used to hand stab fish with. And
not even a pole spear,
not even a pole spear. No, just a piece of wood with a barb on the end.
Yeah, nice.
And I did get a prawey like that. And then my brother ended up, he had a Hawaiian sling, like a pole spear. So I started trying that, and then the lady that the boat was named after, her husband gave me some money for Christmas one year when they were visiting, and I bought myself a spear gun. So when I was 12, I ended up with my first spear gun. It was a pretty shit one, but it sort of worked.
And so that spear gun that you had from when you were 12, is it true that in like, how many years you've been spearfishing? Like 50 years? 40,
yeah.
So is this a true fact that you've actually only owned 2 guns?
No, 3.
3 guns in that time?
Yeah.
One of them, did you make one of them as well?
No. The very first one I bought, I ended up turning into a golf club spear gun.
Pardon?
What?
like in the Bluefins back in a long time ago, a lot of the guys got into golf, and so you'd try and go spearfishing but say, oh no, I'm playing golf today, and it was my little protest about golf that I actually I bought a cheap little golf club, like a driver, and I took it to pieces, and I took my spear gun to pieces, and I rebuilt it so the handle, the grip, was actually a golf club, and I put it on a plaque, and it ended up at Wild Blue.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was my protest against golf.
So to this day, not a golfer?
No.
Well,
I enjoy walking around a golf club, smacking balls around, but I'm useless at it, and I don't take it seriously.
far more prefer being in the ocean slaying, eh?
Sounds like a great hybrid weapon that you created, though. Okay, cool. So was it Long Bay? Did I get that right?
Yep.
Coromandel, pretty young, end up with this actual gun, and from there you've been hooked ever since, or?
No, I was very amateurish and didn't know what I was doing. I remember my when I was so young, I couldn't load my gun, and my dad used to walk on the rocks looking down on me, and I'd pass him up my gun, he'd load it and pass it back to me. And then one day I was swimming along, and he yelled out that something was coming, and a kingfish swam by. And the spear tip was actually like a 5 or 6 pronger, like a barbed pronger on the end. And I just aimed at this kingfish, and I hit it, and I didn't have a float line or a buoy or anything like that, just the gun in my hand, and it dragged me along for a while, and I obviously didn't hit it particularly well, and the spear just pulled out, which otherwise I would have lost my gun. So it was actually okay. So it's the first kingfish I speared.
Would have been a lot of for such a little young whippersnapper feeling that power though, it would have been pretty awesome.
But I really didn't know what I was doing, and then I spearfished on and off for through my teenage years, and I got into sort of motorbike racing, so I was sort of much more into that, and it wasn't until much later that I really got back into spearfishing. Yeah, and it was through a friend of mine who knew Darren Shields that sort of got introduced Darren, and through him I bought gun and fins and things.
Oh, fantastic. So Simon, is there a specific day or memory that you have in the ocean that's really impacted you, like a memory that you can just think back to that you're like, wow, that was a pretty cool moment, or that was a pretty cool day?
I think the one that at the time, I suppose in the Nationals, we were at the Chicks, and you know how you're grouped together in boats, you all form the triangle, and they say go, and we all started swimming. And within a space of probably about 2 minutes, this massive school of kahawai just came flying in, and there was a lot of us there because we're all swimming the same direction down the side of this island, and everyone starts diving down and starts pinging kahawai like boom, 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 and there's guns and fish and blood and all of that. And then right through the middle of that swim 4 orca.
Oh my goodness.
Right through the chaos, just checking it out. It was awesome.
Oh my goodness.
It was amazing to see.
Oh, the day I can swim with orca, I'll be so stoked.
Yeah.
Hope you'll be alright with that, Laura, because you'll probably be there.
Orca would be great. I think my fear would be the scenario before that where everyone's firing off around each other in a comp. I always wonder about that. Like, what happens if we see a school when we're all still quite close together?
Oh, the water's the only time that's a problem when the water's dirty.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. So yeah.
But no, orca. I'd love to see orca in the water. How long ago would that have been? Like that you still?
That was about 2000. Well, no,
20
4 or 2004,
No,
2006, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Those moments imprint on your memory.
I
Really well,
did
don't
get
they?
the biggest snapper that day in the Nationals. So.
How
Nice.
yeah, you did. I think the very first time I ever met you, I was at the Nationals in Ruakaka, and like I show up and it turns out it's at a cash only bar, and you're like, oh hey Elise, I'm also in spearfishing fundamentals, and I was like, oh okay, hi, how you going? And then I was like trying to pay for my drink, and you're like, oh mate, I'll spot you, don't worry. And then I was like, oh, this is the nicest dude ever. Like, bought me a beer, we had a yarn, and then it was like, I've got to remember to bring back cash next week to training. And it was just, it was real nice. I was like, oh, cool, we have our people here.
Well, yeah, I guess the next one rolls in pretty naturally, which is us to ask is, what is your favourite part if you could narrow down, what is it about spearfishing that you love so much, like the favourite element of it? Apart from buying young gals drinks, because that sounds like a real good byproduct.
I'm so old that it sounds creepy.
Sorry, that's not what I meant. You're used to it.
No, the thing what I like best, you mean as far as the sort of hunting I like, or just anything?
Any aspect of spearfishing that you're like, that's the part about it that you just, that's what
I suppose I do like the hunting aspect. I like the fitness side. I like the just the fact that you're totally focused on something that's not, nothing to do with home life or work or anything like that. It's just you're just in the moment, and that's what you're doing.
present with.
Yeah, and you see such amazing things every time you go in. You see something new, something different.
And you are a bit of a weapon in the training pool and also in the lake. Like, I'm pretty sure you hit your PB this year in the lake training. Is that right? When you did the 8 of 3, or when you did
8 of 4.
8 of 4. 35?
No, I did 40.
40.
Yeah.
Oh,
Casual 40
We're not.
meters.
We're actually officially on the 8 of 4. We're not allowed to do more than 32 or something like that.
Yeah, so you did it
so we finished the course, and the following day we had a free day, and then we could go do what we like, and
oh my
a
goodness.
few of us knocked off a 40. So
That's so cool. I remember you coming back just so proud and so chuffed. I was like, yes, I'm in.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, I guess that covers a few of the different things, and it's a lot of people can carry on spearfishing for years and don't bother doing a course or don't bother doing the freediving part. But obviously that's how we know you, is from comps and from doing the freedive pool training and stuff. And yeah, you talk about that your favourite part is, it's hard to narrow down, isn't it? Because there's so many different elements, and you obviously enjoy the social aspect and being in the community, being part of the bluefins and stuff as well, and that must be a huge part of it for you too. But like you say, that moment, or those moments where you forget about the rest of your life and you're not got your brain in work and you don't have your brain in anything else other than what you're seeing and experiencing, I think we can all kind of relate to that, and a lot of the guests we've had on here have talked in similar ways about that same aspect. So it's interesting to hear that part. And you obviously like making things. You've talked about your golf club addition. We know you make the plats. I mean, obviously there's aspects of spearfishing that can be quite creative for you as well, being able to craft different things. Has that come out of you enjoy making things, or has it come out of a need for, I need a float boat, so I'm going to make one?
Yeah, well, it started off with I had I was in ownership in a yacht with my brother, and he's worked as a boat builder, so he's done a lot of boat building and fiberglassing and all that sort of thing. And when we were doing up our boat, I learnt how to do fiberglassing, and we're working with plywood and fiberglass and coving it, and So then I suddenly thought, well, I need a plait, because I was diving up at Parkery, and I suddenly found myself going backwards at about 10 knots, getting dragged by a bronzy, and because I had the traditional old Ronstand float with butterfish hanging off it and other fish.
Just threaded onto the line, you mean?
Yeah. And I thought, no, I need a plait. So I built one. The first one I built, I thought, well, kingfish are this long, and so I built a boat that long. It's an elephant hunting plait, like heavy or just big? Well, no, it's not
kingfish
too
long,
heavy.
Or the kingfish that you wanted to get.
It's a great plait. You could just about turn it into a boat, but I think I could fit a 20-kilo kingy in it, no worries.
Hey.
Yeah. So I started using that one, but then it was embarrassing that I'd go out diving with this plait that was just so much bigger than everyone else's, and and particularly in my little boat, I had the biggest plait to boat ratio as anybody. So then I built some smaller ones, and the last 2 times I built plaits, I've made 2 at a time, mainly just to use the plywood up, and I've tried to make and I've sort of refined the design a little bit, and so I've built 5 now, and really quite enjoyed making them, and I think they work really well. They're.
Yeah, we used yours that day, and you were like, we'll take these, and I remember thinking, I don't know, maybe it's the creative art teachery vibe in me, but I just thought it was really cool that you had made it, just because it's like you're understanding that environment and what works for you, and the fact that you can say you've made it. It's a really awesome aspect. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my first nationals, I got to use one of your plaits and tow around my fish around in that, so that was pretty cool. So if you could describe your ideal dive buddy, who would they be and what would they do?
I suppose if we're just going out for a dive normally, I suppose I'm not too fussed whether they stick with me or not. We often end up drifting away from each other and doing our own thing. In a competition, I've dived with quite a few different people in competitions, and there's only one that I've really not clicked with, and it was over the barrier once, and I didn't have a dive buddy, and I turned up and there was a stray person, and so we ended up diving together, and we just didn't click. He wanted to go left, I want to go right, I wanted burley, he didn't, it was just crap. And I think the best dive buddies are, for me, just relaxed and easygoing, and not too competitive. If you do good, it's fun, and you're happy. But if you don't sweat it. You just, I don't like people that get petulant, and I've seen buddies end up sitting on rocks arguing, and they won't talk to each other and all that, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've got one particular dive buddy that you dive with quite a lot, old Peter. So he said about you that you're quite the handy diver. He trusts you. You've got a really good fish sense. You've never had an argument, either side. You've got a great sense of humour. And it's a really good thing in comp situations, and you dive recreationally how you dive in comps, because it's efficient, and I know he loves diving with you, so it's good to have buddies. I know you guys dive quite a lot, and me and Laura definitely try to get in there and sub out when Peter can't come. We always try to jump in with you if we can.
He's actually, I'm with him in the lane a lot for pool training as well as you, and I chop in and out of the different lanes, and I was with him last night as well, and he's just, he's checking on you, he's safe, And like he was talking to about how you guys kind of just know each other instinctively now, and you kind of know how each other dives, and I think that's a really cool thing to have developed. He said you guys have been diving probably since 2008 together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be the dream team. Spend time with people that you get to know, and that makes the diving, like you say, more fun and more safe, all that kind of thing. And yeah, but no, he had great things to say, and a few other stories that he let us know about that we'll bring up as we go along. So for my question, at least...
I can tell you a few things about Peter, but I probably shouldn't.
Well, you know what? You save those stories because we're going to interview Peter eventually, and you'll be who we ask for some stories about him, so it'll be payback if they're not nice stories.
Absolutely.
So this next question, Elise likes to tease me about a little bit because it's a bit of a woo-woo question.
Oh, I used to. Now I've got used to it and quite enjoy the answers. So
It's one of my favourite questions. What does it mean to you to be a Spearo? Would you even call yourself one?
Yeah, I suppose I would call myself Spearo because I've done it so much for so long. But what it means to me, I just think about people that don't spear and don't go in the ocean like me, and they're missing out on so much. You know, I just see things that just, you know, would blow their mind, and they would be far too frightened to do some of the things that, you know, we do as spearfishermen. And so I like the physical challenge, I like the hunting, and I like just the things I see and just getting out there.
So would you sort of say that what it means to you is to be kind of almost like going and experiencing life? Because you're almost saying that's what people are not doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So to experience life is to you is what to be a Spearo is.
Yeah. But I mean, one of our friends, when she passed away a few years ago, but she was very frightened about going in the ocean, and she was up in Northland, Tauranga Bay, Taupo Bay somewhere, on a boat, and she finally decided to get in the water, and she stuck her head under, and then she said, "It's so big down there," and she hadn't realised what was there, you know, and then she was okay after that.
I had a similar scenario with my mum recently in summer. We took Elisa's kids snorkeling, and mum was on the same holiday, and she's quite not very good eyesight, and she's quite scared of sharks, and she had this little snorkel with us, and she was holding my hand, and she was just amazed. And we just saw some real casual fish. It was like a purori or something, and it was the same thing. It was just that, like, oh my gosh, like there's all this life under there. And then, like you say, you want other people to experience that. And I was actually just thinking as you were talking about experiencing life, obviously, like being into sailing and motorbike racing and all those things, like there's a correlation between those pursuits, that they're all, you know, experiencing life and getting yourself in those scenarios where if you just live that everyday life, you go to work and you stay within the confines of your small suburb or whatever, that people, you know, like you say, they're just not seeing life in the same way that we all get to experience, and I want that for other people too.
it would have been a really nice way to have a good memory of her in the last, you know, few years that she had. That's very special. Do you have a dive day entry, like a day where you're like, this is the best day diving that I can remember?
Got a few.
Yeah, I bet, but definitely you're welcome to tell more than one.
I mean, one of them, like my mate Jamie that does the scallop diving up in the UK in Devon, we often used to dive up the back of Waiheke, on the end of Waiheke, and we'd go down to Kawakawa Bay, launch there, motor up past Ponui Island, go to the eastern end of Waiheke, and we had quite a few spots we'd dive. And one day just everything came right. The water was clear, there was fishy, you know, we got kingies each, we got snapper, trevally, carwide, John Dory, we got crays, we got scallops, we just, and this is all in a little boat, and you know, it was just filled with seafood, and there wasn't a fishing rod on board, and we went back to the boat ramp at Kawakawa Bay, and there was a fisheries officer there, doing the inspecting, and this tiny little boat pulls up, and we pull this massive, heavy dive bag out from underneath the seat that it took two of us to lift, and we laid it out and got the fish out, and he was just blown away. It was pretty cool. It was the best catch he'd seen, for a long time.
Oh, he would have been really surprised with that.
And then another day that just stood out, I suppose, Barry Waring. He rang me up one night and said the West Coast is flat. And
yes.
so he came round to my place the following morning. We jumped in his van, we drove over to Piha, and we just jumped in sort of at the estuary at the south side of Piha. Well, actually, no, we didn't jump in then. We went. It was low tide, so we walked sort of past there, and there's a track that sort of wanders along and then goes down to a gut, and we jumped in at the gut and we swam out there. Then we swam south towards Karikari, and when we got to these caves that are down there, it was just fishy as hell. There was just big schools of snapper, dumb as hell, trevally, there was the odd kingy coming through, and we had about 20 metre viz. And it was, it wasn't, it was flat calm. There was an odd little bit of a swell would come through occasionally, but it was just beautiful, and we just had fun.
You are so lucky to have got a day like that. I've been living there, working there for a long time, and I've never seen quite a day like what you described.
Well, I'm waiting for another day, and that was probably 5-6 years ago. I don't know, however long ago it was, but it's not been one since.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I've been looking. From the farm, I can see the birds out there doing workups, and you're just like, oh. Yeah. And every time I see them, I just think of your story.
Yeah. Well, it's rare to get the flat water and the clear water.
And the clear water. Me and Laura have tried with flat water, but there was no clear water, and we got scared and went back inside because we couldn't see our hands in front of us.
I think we always keep commenting. We're like, right, we've told Simon that if we can see that it's good, we'll message you, because I know you're saying that to us. I'll let you know if there's a good day. And we did genuinely have pretty strong belief that there would be a good day's diving in the time that we lived there, but there was not.
Oh, it's very rare.
Yeah, the same fisherman I was talking to about snapper about on the west coast over summer, just at the back of the surf break, one of his mates caught a marlin. So they come in, the place is alive. There's a lot there. There's a lot to be able to go through. I've got one story that kind of got brought up that maybe you could shed some light on. It's about a time that you crossed the Matarangi Bar at 30 plus knots and did some particular...
The look on Simon's face right now is like,
some particular motorcycle roll out of that. Would you like to go into great detail about that?
Oh, yeah. No, Peter and Peter and I were on my brother's boat, and we'd been out fishing. Tim.
Your brother Tim.
My brother Tim.
Not to name names.
No. And so Tim's on the steering wheel. Peter's sort of to his left, hanging onto the dashboard or a bar or something like that. I'm standing behind them, just one hand gripped on the side of the cabin, and as we're coming across the bar, the boat just swerved off a wave, dived, and my grip on the side of the cabin slipped, and I went stagger, 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 hit the side, over I went.
Oh my goodness.
But I was wearing a automatic life vest, and it just popped, and the only bad thing that happened is I already lost my glasses. Yeah.
Is it true that you did a full motorcycle racetrack roll at, was it 30 knots? Or is
I don't know how fast I don't know if we're going 30 knots, but I hit the water pretty hard, but it didn't hurt as much as a motorbike crash.
And probably not as much as being washed into the prop, so well done you for clearing that.
Also, Peter mentioned that there was a dirty water bronzy battle, or maybe there were numerous. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, we've had a few, but we there was one in particular that gave us a hell of a fright because we dived in dirty. Well, I dived down in dirty water, probably, I don't know, 12 metres down onto the sand, and then I just got this sort of vague view of kingies going past, and I fired and got one, but the fight was on then, so I went back to the surface and I'm fighting it. Peter went down, put a second shot in it, and then
good buddy should.
Yeah, and then we pulled it up the top, ickied it, threw it in the plate, and we've got this massive tangle of guns and lines and spears that we're trying to untangle, and then right through the middle of that, just bronzy just come barreling between us, all full, really fired up, and
Put the wind up, yeah.
yeah, we hadn't seen it, hadn't expected it, and so fortunately we had rocks about 50 metres behind us, so we scooted backwards to the rocks, untangled all our guns, reloaded, and then the boat was about 100 metres away. So we just went, just looking underneath us, behind us, round us, and side by side, with the guns ready, and just sort of went back to the boat, in case this bronzy was still fired up.
Oh, that would have been quite the swim.
Luckily you had your homemade plate, and I've always got that feeling that the one time I don't want to have sharks sneak over my shoulder is when I've got an unloaded gun and there's lines everywhere, so my greatest no thanks.
But there was another dive with Peter at Derville Rocks where he dived down, speared a kingy, and it appeared to be he'd hit it well, and so I thought, he's all right, I need a kingy too. So I dived down, speared one, and then when I got back to the surface and I was fighting the fish, I looked around and I really couldn't see him, but I did think I saw a couple of big shapes in the water, or a big shape.
Nice.
And so I got my fish up quite quickly and ickied it, chucked it in the plate, and I'm looking around for Peter and I can't see him, and so I swam towards Derville Rocks, and my boat was nearby there, and I find Peter in the sort of rocks with his kingy held up close, and he had 3 bronzies on him.
3?
Yeah, but they were all sort of getting a bit aggressive with each other, and they weren't really paying that much attention with him, I don't know.
Was he sort of sitting on the rocks by this point, or just?
Oh no, he was just up in a crevice, or just close to the rocks. So anyway, we got his kingy into the plate with mine, and then we start swimming back to the boat, and then this bronzy just kept coming at us all the way back to the boat.
Oh, hectic.
Yeah, I think actually I remember being in the car ride with you back from that little snapper stalking adventure to Goat Island, and I was asking you different questions about how, because I think at that
That's
stage...
the snapper stalking you, just for anyone going, Goat
Yeah,
Island.
sorry, it's the snapper stalking us. Good point.
No snapper were killed.
But I think I was asking you lots of different things, like what's different now about spearfishing from when you started, and all that. I was going on and on about sharks because I'd had all these different shark encounters, and you're one of the first people that I'd sort of sat in the car with and just had, stuck with me in a car for an hour or whatever it was, so I asked you lots of things, and you'd said quite a few interesting comments about the difference in shark sightings. I think you said something, I might have quoted this wrong, but you said something like, when you started spearfishing, it would be like a big deal that someone had seen one that year or that summer. And I thought, whoa, that's crazy. I've been on, I think at the time I've been diving maybe 10 or 11 times, and I'd seen them 8 or 9 times. And that stuck with me, that you've seen that change in shark behaviour over that 30, 40, 50 years of spearfishing.
Oh yeah, like I'd never seen a shark up until, I don't know, it was probably in the 2000s, early 2000s, sometime around there. I'd never seen a shark the whole time being spearfishing, and then I saw one, and then I maybe see 1-2 years later, and then you I very occasionally see them, and now it's pretty much just about every dive.
So what do you think the difference is?
I don't know. I really don't know. I assume there's more sharks. Maybe it's the shark finning that used to go on. Maybe that stopped, and so there's more sharks. That's the only guess, really.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, whether it's their learned behaviours. It's not because people have got GoPros on and proving it.
No, I'm sure there's more than there used to be.
Yeah, well, maybe we'd get someone on someday who knows a little bit about sharks and be able to ask them some of those detailed questions.
I'd like to have a marine biologist on so we can talk about snapper and we can talk about sharks and all the things like that.
No, it's interesting though. Anyway, yeah, we know in the time that we've been, obviously Lisa's been going to nationals longer than me, but we've heard of you and know of you to be pretty dominant in the masters section of nationals, as well as you into the open pairs and all that kind of stuff. And I know you scrunch your face up at that, but I guess we're just interested to know, to be involved in spearfishing for as long as you have been and to compete for as long as you have been, you've obviously got a love for it. So what led you to the competitive side of spearfishing and why do you enjoy it?
I remember the very first competition I went to was at the Hen, and it was probably in maybe springtime or something. It was still pretty cold, and my mate and I teamed up together, and it just about killed me, I was so cold and I was so knackered, and I couldn't understand how people could dive for 6 hours.
Yeah, and for 2 days.
And I remember we were down the side of the Hen, and Darren swam up at one point, and then he does this big deep dive and comes up with this nice snapper, and
yeah, making it look easy, thanks.
And I thought I'll never be able to do this, and then I realised that people used to do 2-day competitions like the nationals and swim for 6 hours for 2 days, and I thought that's ridiculous. And now I can do it and do it easy, and it's just practice, and just it's not determination, it's just
being used to it.
Yeah, being used to it, being fitter, and now but I love the competitions. I suppose it's you learn a lot, and being in the same same water with a whole lot of other people, it's much harder to spearfish. It's not private, you don't have a bit of coastline all to yourself, or very rarely you do. So you have to learn to try and get fish that are not easy to get.
Yeah.
And just learn stuff, and then I like the talk afterwards and meeting the same people and all that. It's nice.
I think I had a bit of a similar story along those lines where in my first comp, again, also might have been at the Hen or Hen and Chicks, and me and Hamish, I think day 2, we were so tired, we were sitting on the rocks, eating lollies, and having a little bit of a snack and just going, oh my goodness. And then Jackson and maybe Paul Best boost past. They just swam like 5k in one direction, 5k back non-stop. They were hitting it hard, and me and Hamish just look at each other with like a sour worm hanging out of our mouths, and we're like, oh my god. I think I'd rather eat the lollies. Times have changed now. I'm like, yeah.
Whereas for me, my first actual dive, I think, was a 6-hour experience with Elise, where I thought, we just stay in the water for this long, and this is what spearfishing is, and you get a real workout. Yeah. And I just didn't think anything different. So by the time we went to comps, I was like, oh yeah. But no, comps are cool.
By fire for Laura.
Oh yes, it'll be cool. We can maybe do some pre-Stewart Island catch-ups with you and Peter or something before we go, and a debrief afterwards of how all the experiences we have down there and all the learnings that we take away from being in a new environment. So
what's the biggest challenge to your spearfishing that you've had over the years?
It's probably just fitness and confidence in the water. I remember like that first comp I did, I just wasn't fit enough, and I found that if I didn't swim enough, I got really cold, and if I swam a lot, I got cramp. And so then I discovered magnesium, which really, really, really helps. And so I think just time in the water and swimming a lot of places in a lot of conditions with current and waves and is just got my confidence up, and I just feel comfortable now in that situation.
So like being comfortable and confident in like dirty water, bad swell, like you're confident in that when you get a good day, you get a really good day.
Oh yeah, people that live out Whitianga and go out to the Mercs all the time and dive in clear water. Don't know how lucky they are. Like around here, diving at Waiheke and green water that's like 4 metre viz or something. It's not easy.
Us tough, hard Aucklanders, the rest of the country don't know what they're banging on about.
Coming from me and Elise, who are leaving Auckland to go diving where it's clearer.
Hey.
It's so tough.
Well, we had an option.
Not sure if you have any thoughts on this, but this is something I wanted to ask you kind of based on the stuff you said about sharks and the changes in time and all that kind of stuff. But what thoughts do you have or concerns do you have about the future of spearfishing as a recreational activity and a competitive sport, if any?
Yeah, I suppose... there's a lot more spearfishermen now than there used to be. And certain species are getting, a little bit annihilated in certain places. Butterfish getting taken out.
Poor old butterfish, Not enough limelight for them getting crashed. Just everyone's worried about the snapper, but I am concerned about the butterfish as well.
I think, as far as competitions go, when the fish list gets named, I'm all for cutting out certain fish. Like if you go to an area where there's truckloads of pori, everyone's going to get 2. It's going to make no difference to score. Then take pori off the list. Otherwise, you just kill a whole lot of pori.
Especially if you're not going to eat them and make a good curry like me, and only take them if you're going to appreciate them.
Yeah, so I like that fish lists can get modified. The good peoples will always win in a comp. So it doesn't matter what the fish list is; they always will. So you just try and preserve the fish, I
often wonder also about like the blue mau mau and the minimum weights of being 450. Often it's like, well, if I have a minimum weight of 450, because I'm not sure if it's going to get that, I'm probably going to shoot like 4 or 5 and then just pick the biggest of the bunch. Whereas if it was like, a blue mau mau, okay, you've got 2 of those, there'd probably be a lot less fish shot.
Blue mau mau do weigh.
They do
weigh. Herb, he gave Peter and I some wise words one day. He said, "The fat little fuckers."
You would have said it exactly like that too. They're quite dense, eh?
Yeah.
I've definitely had one that has been like very close to the score and it just made it in.
Yeah.
So
my first nationals, my blue mau mau didn't weigh, so I have this paranoia now. So I only shoot them if when I'm looking down, they look fat widthways, like above, because otherwise I'm like, it's not going to weigh and I'm going to murder it for no reason.
Look for the really bright blue ones, eh? Simon, this may become your ick, but so we've got a bit of a thing. Alex Edwards brought it up and said that we should add it in, so we're like, okay. And we ended up recording her way earlier, but then releasing a bunch of episodes after, so it's in there, but she started it. Anyway, what's your biggest ick? If you need an example, one that I recently learnt was that I got out of the pool to go for a wee during training, and I get back, and Laura goes, well, why don't you just pee in the pool? And I was like, haha. And then she goes, no, I'm serious. And I was like, no, are you serious? Are you serious? No, get out of here. And then I realised, oh my God, she pees in the pool. And then I look at another lady in our group and I look at her and I go, do you poo in the pool? Do you pee in the pool? And she looks at me and goes, no. But at the same time, nodding her head, yes. And I thought, oh my God, how many times have I been swimming behind you people with piss in my face?
I've got to get up on a leash somehow, so the more training I do, she wastes 5 minutes of training, and that's over every week until nationals. That's a whole lot of wasted training time.
She's pissing on everyone.
While I was in the pool training.
Simon, how do you feel about that?
Peeing in the pool?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, most adults don't.
I needed to a couple of weeks ago, and a certain person that we trained with who was a really top swimmer, who we won't mention, he just said, sit on the side of the pool, which is where the water sloshes over and goes through those drains.
Yeah, the grates.
And he said, just sit up there and pee.
What? Is this what happens as adults? Like, have I been missing out? Like, should I just let myself do it?
I'm not going to get out. That's just the problem is, it's just to explain my non-ick. This is just...
She used to be a lifeguard.
If I'm relaxing, right, before I do a breathe out, and if I need to really relax and I'm going to actually hit 50 metres or more, if there's any wee-wees in there, they've got to come out. Or I'm not going to be able to do 50 metres.
Okay, so welcome to training. We can do some beautiful relaxed dives. Here's your golden shower.
I don't pee in the pool.
Okay. Yeah. I can swim behind Simon.
Yes.
I shouldn't swim behind Laura. So, okay, well, you might see some bubbles going behind me. So. Anyway, what's your ick? It doesn't have to be peeing in the pool. It can be anything to do with boats, spearfishing.
I suppose the thing that I've taken people out where they just swim with no float and they swim with a reel gun.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Because you have no idea where they are.
Yep.
You just feel
yeah,
so
I'm the skipper, and I've taken them out there, and I've got to bring them home again.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they are. And
at
least if you've got a float, you've got a starting point to find the body.
Yes.
But with a reel gun, you've no, and it's really hard to see them, find them. Yeah, I don't like reel guns.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, yes, personally, when you dive with a reel gun and it's just you underwater, it feels great. But having everyone not know where you are and having people not be able to see you, I don't love that personally either.
But you remember, like Alex was saying how she lost that gun in Australia.
Yeah.
And I was diving up north, when we did a bluefins trip up there, and one of the guys was diving with speared a kingy, and it went over the side of the reef, and the line just chafed on the reef and lost the spear. He lost the fish, lost the spear, and I've seen pictures of people with that have speared like a dog tooth or whatever, and the reel locks up or doesn't release enough, and it just snaps off. It's overly complex, and there's a lot to go wrong. Where the traditional one, where you've got a gun and a float, a buoy line and a float, is simple and it works. And it's quite safe.
And so easy to just put your fish out of the water, especially these days.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bang on about it again, but I've got this new float line. And I love it so much. It's like, so I'm a bit of a rope girl. Stop it, Laura. Okay, so coming from a background of ropes, like with canyoning and rock climbing and like that being a part of my career, having a good rope is really important. And I hated the float ropes where it just like is the braided ones. Like, yes, it's awesome that they're so compact. And then I had, the nice thick ones, the bungee lines, which are also great for what they do, but also the non-tangly lines definitely tangle quite a lot. So I've just found my happy medium. And it's from Weddy, and it's called the Beast, and it's got a floating inner core and then a really strong outer core, and it can hold up to like 700 kg of tension and fish. And I love it. So it's like just in between. Like, it's real small, it's real lightweight, but it's also like really strong, and I'm loving it. So Get your hands on that. I'll show you. I'll bring it next time we dive. You'll love it.
I've got my 5mm 3 braid floating rope that I've had for 30 years.
Yeah.
I have actually changed it recently because it got so sun damaged and worn, and it had been chopped by bronzies a few times, and I finally changed it. So I'm only on my second float line ever.
Holy heck.
That actually takes me to something that we almost weren't going to mention, because last night I was talking to you at training about how you cracked, so I don't know if you did it or the airport did it, they cracked your fins, and I was just thinking then about how often you've said, oh yeah, I got a hole in my suit, I repaired it, cracked my fins, I've repaired it, done this, and you don't, I can tell you don't see the point in buying a bunch of gear just for the sake of it. You look after your gear, you repair the gear you do have, and if it works, sweet. But that's reminded me that you've recently been to Niue, and I very quickly saw a quick picture at the pub at training, but I didn't quite get the full story about your mahi-mahi.
Yeah, so Annika and I went up to Niue just for a week for, being a tourist, and we took sort of gear to dive with, but just snorkeling, in close. I didn't take any spearfishing gear, and I decided when we were up there, I was talking to a guy in a restaurant, and he said, he says, if you want to go spearing, there's a guy down there called Brendan Passesi, and he's in this office at the moment, down there. If you want to go diving, go and talk to him. So I wandered down and I walked into his office, and he says, yeah, I'm taking somebody out on Friday. If you're, I'll ask them if they mind if you come along. And I said, I haven't got a gun. So he said, I can lend you a gun, a 130 Rob Allen. It's got a bungee, breakaway, or slip tip, all that sort of thing.
Cool.
So we went out and we dived. We dived initially a couple of dives for dogtooth along the coast, didn't see any, and then we dived 4 different fads, and we saw mahi-mahi. The first one I had a really good shot on, and using somebody else's gun, I tried to pull the trigger and it didn't go. And it wasn't the safety, it was just the rubber tension. It was just, it was so...
Really pull the trigger?
Yeah, to pull the trigger, it was like you needed just about 2 fingers, to go boomf,
Heck.
And it was so different to the gun that I used that it just, I thought there's something wrong, that the safety must be on. And then meanwhile, as the mahi-mahi swims away.
Would this have been a first mahi-mahi for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been my first one, and it was quite a big one too. And then we dived a couple other spots, and it was just the last spot was quite fishy, and I had a big mahi-mahi behind me, but by the time I turned the gun around, it swam away. It's a bit like a John Dory when it's swimming away from you. It doesn't really offer a shot. They're so thin.
I was going to say, how do they behave in the water? They normally they gather around fads often, don't they? And they go quite...
not necessarily close to the fad. They might be within 100, 200 metres. They're out there somewhere, and they're generally swimming just below the surface. And so if it's swelly, you can see them and then you don't, and then you see them and then you don't, sort of thing. So you just got to, and you got to keep looking around behind you the whole time. Just keep looking and looking and looking. And when the guy that was in the water with us, a local guy called Nam, he's Mr. Niue he's got muscles everywhere.
Nice.
You girls would like it.
Laura stops. Nice.
He was burling. He had a flasher and was burling, and this one mahi-mahi that I got was just going berserk, just coming and feeding. It was just going this way, that way, every way around, and eventually I managed to put a spear in it. But I felt like such a newbie, I couldn't load the gun for a start.
Yeah.
I'd never loaded a 1300. It had quite short 16mm rubbers. I just couldn't do it. And so I had to give it to these other guys to load for me.
Hey, I'm on a charter and I'm on holiday. Load my gun.
You're the big bad Spearo from New Zealand. Load my gun.
I just want to go back with my own gun that I know, that I'm familiar with, and do it properly.
Okay, Simon,
Yeah,
we'll come with you.
And I had a couple of wahoo come in.
Oh, no way.
And I didn't. I pulled the trigger a couple of times, but I missed them. But it's very, in such good viz. It's so hard to pick distance, and it's. I know the guys that were running the charter, they said, when you think you're close enough, do 2 more kicks and then pull the trigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was true for you as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I was having trouble diving. I'd had a head cold, and I had a sinus that was blocking. And we, after I'd speared that mahi-mahi, I got out the water and I blew my nose, and it was just blood everywhere.
Oh, heck.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe we can look at a fundies trip, put that together one year, eh?
Peter, I know, is dead keen.
Right, we've got 4.
Hasn't
Let's
he
go.
been numerous times, and he's still let's go again.
He's been to Niue once,
Okay.
but he's done a lot of other trips.
Yeah.
Solomons and Tonga and.
It sounds like you said, you could go back with your own gun, and I know you were on a couple's holiday, which is a little different to a diving holiday. So it's nice of your lovely partner to, do her own thing and let you go explore. But it sounds like you need to go back with your own kit and reclaim. But it'll still be awesome.
It sounds like it was nice of you to bring back some mahi-mahi for her too.
Yeah.
Yes, do give us that detail about the mahi-mahi and eating it.
Well, we because we'd only got the one fish, the skipper just said, "Oh, you guys can have it." And there was one other Spearo on the trip, and a guy called Craig who lives up in the Bay of Islands. So I
met a New Zealander.
Yeah, and his partner or wife, she was the one that took Kerry through her PADI instructor course.
Oh.
Yeah, so she's a free diver.
Classic New Zealand.
Yeah. 6 stories of separation, eh?
Yeah.
What the heck?
So and they end up staying at the same place as us. So I filleted the fish and gave them half, and we had half, and
Cool.
and we could cook where we were. So we just had mahi-mahi. We just ate it for a few days just to eat it all up.
What did it taste like? What's the closest fish in New Zealand that we can think of? I mean, we have them here, but...
I've never eaten one, so I want to celebrate.
Same.
It's just really soft, delicate flesh. I don't know, maybe giant boarfish, maybe.
I haven't eaten that either.
Show off.
So that sounds awesome. I'm glad you had some success, because I know you were saying you weren't sure if you'd even go when you went over there and all that kind of thing. Speaking of memorable fish, can you recall the day you snooped your monster snapper in the inner Gulf?
Yeah.
Someone else reckoned it was memorable, so
It was memorable, yeah. I've got a couple out there at that same place. The first one I ever got years ago, I'd burleyed up in a gut, and I sneaked over this gut, and I saw this big snapper just chomping on kinna, and I just about put the gun at the back of its head and pulled the trigger, and it just stoned it. And that was cool.
Murky viz or what? Or you got that close
but
to it?
in the gut, it was clear. I was probably only a metre from the fish.
Yeah.
But then I was back there. Probably 2 years ago now, and I was diving with Peter, and this big school of kingies came in, and we each speared one, and I speared quite a big one, and it fought like hell, and unfortunately it bloody ripped off, and I was just gutted, and I was just so annoyed that I'd lost this fish. And so we moved on, and I dived down into this murky water, and I was probably about 6-8 meters down or something like that, and I saw this big snapper just disappearing into the distance. And I thought, oh shit, or bugger, there goes this big snapper. And then I realised that there was another snapper down there that was relatively small, and then I saw this other big one just sitting there looking at me, and I dropped down on it, and it was looking straight at me, and I just went straight down, and just pulled the trigger and got it right through the top of the head.
Yeah.
Just absolutely stoned it.
So from above, and it just didn't know where to go?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty memorable. Not that I'm always big about talking about, like, how big was it, blah, 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 but was it one of the biggest snapper you have, Landon?
I have got bigger. This looked like a really big snapper, had a big humpy head on it. That
like
one.
It lived a life.
Yeah, but no, I have got a little bit bigger.
Cool, yeah, no, in the Gulf diving, some of the places you go around Auckland, like, I still haven't dived, and I always love to hear about, like you say, those kinds of places that people don't bother to go because it's maybe less good viz, or they want to go all the way to the Mokes and those kinds of things. Yeah, look forward to hopefully trying to get out on a weekday in the school holidays with either one of those spots again.
So we've been out on Barbie. We've heard a lot about Barbie. Do you want to tell us about Barbie?
Oh, Barbie is was built in 1972. It's my dad built it. It's plywood pellin, and it started off life with a 40 horsepower Mercury that was like a manual pull, manual tilt, and that's the way we used it for years. And then after my dad died, my eldest brother took it on, and it just sat in his garage because he had 2 small kids and he wasn't using it. And I'd been overseas when I got back, and I wanted to go boating. I said to him, "You're going to use the boat?" And he says, "You can have it." So I got it. I just had to put a new motor on it, and I repainted it and made it look nice, and started using it.
It's very sleek.
Yeah, it's a cool little boat. It's very capable.
Yeah.
It's over 50 years old now, and I can still go out to, Little Barrier, and on a good day, I'd be happy to go to the Mokes or Great Barrier. But I actually, even just about on a bad day, I think it would handle it okay.
It's very well built, very well thought out. How come your dad built it? Is he a fisher? Is he just an open?
No, he just had children that wanted to go boating. So he built quite a few kayaks and dinghies, and he was a carpenter, so he was really good with wood. And he built all these little small boats, and then when we wanted to actually go out on the water for a bit longer, a bit further, then he built this boat. And
what a legacy to be able to have built a boat and then handed it down to you guys. That's so special. Hey, Simon, do you have any dive day rituals?
Sort of. I think it's the common one, to basically lighten your body before you go diving.
I knew
you know
it.
what I mean?
Such a line out the door, isn't there?
The food that I normally eat before I go diving to keep me going all day is a big bowl of porridge, and I find it really easy to digest. I'll have a coffee or whatever to help with the lightening the load or whatever before we go.
Let the coffee gnome come knocking.
Yeah, but the food that I do not recommend to go diving is waffles and cream. I've done that once, and I had the most terrible reflux. Just burnt my insides. Don't do it.
Yeah, it does not sound good.
Oh, speaking of things to consume and eat, do you have a favourite fish to hunt and eat? And obviously that can be 2 different fish, but yeah, what's your favourite fish to hunt firstly?
I really like snapper snooping, so I like I've had it a few times where I've been on an island or a bit of coastline that is just filthy with big snapper. Behind every rock there's a big snapper.
That would be...
It happens occasionally. It doesn't happen very often. But when it does, it's just like, just so exciting, eh? You're just swimming along and behind that rock there's likely to be something big there. So you just approach it really quietly and you sneak over and you muff a few of them. Like, I remember at the barrier once where I just, there were some rocks that were totally bare. And they were reasonably deep, but there were just huge snapper in behind them. And, I got to see them, but couldn't put a spear in them. Love that. And I like those quiet bays where there's no current, there's no waves, it's just really quiet, you're all by yourself, and you're just sneaking along, just hunting. And you just totally aware of what's around you, every movement. You're trying to see a little bit of tail or colour or something. And then the other fish I really like getting a trevally. I always feel really happy when I get a trevally. Because I like eating them too.
Best eating fish out.
Yeah, I mean, trevally would have to be one of my favourite fish to eat, because you can have it any way. You can smoke it, you can have it fried, you can have it raw, you can make, ceviche, you can do anything you like with it. It's so versatile.
There's a nice picture of you from the summer just gone, actually, of you with some treves, so we'll have to whip that up on the post to show that one of you. But yeah, treves can't go wrong. So you like hunting those two fish, but you also like obviously eating and preparing treve then?
Yeah. I mean, I do get. I mean, this summer particularly, I got a few kingies, and we have fried kingies. We make crudo. We make ceviche. Smoke it. I love it. But it's not. I don't find it that challenging anymore. I just find them, because they come to you. It's just, and I've been very selective this year, particularly when I pull the trigger, and I've pretty much stoned just about all of them. So
nice.
It's good
just
for the fish.
Just a personal challenge.
Oh, it's partly to do with sharks. I just don't want to attract their attention.
Quit the wriggling and the pulling around. And I guess, like you say, if it becomes, I hope this happens to me one day where it's easy, and kingfish are getting easier, I guess it gives you that kind of extra element of, like you say, only taking the shots when you can sort of make sure it's a good shot, and being a bit more selective about which kingy you take is probably the next level up from just getting every kingy that says hello.
I mean, snapper are still the fish that really, particularly the big ones, that make my, I get a little bit excited about, and I really just think, oh, still, and there's the odd time where I've got a really big one, and I can visualise every time it's happened. Yeah.
So, like, saying that you stoned those kingies, like, and particularly that you've been quite particular and you want to shoot them this way so that the sharks don't get them. Recently, I've learnt that I may be a bit of a shit shot.
True.
Well, anyway, you went there. So it really was. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you do, like, to improve your shots? And, like, do you have a certain way? Do you visualise it first? Do you look down the gun personally? Or are you like an instinctive aimer where you, like, look at the fish and shoot, which is kind of what I've done.
I tend to wait till side on to me. Say if they're swimming away from me, I don't normally pull the trigger anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Because I've done that before, and it's such a lot of fish to get for the spear to get through. You don't always get it right through, and when it's side on to you, you get a much better target to hit the spine. And if you hit that, the stuff.
So you aim for the spine. The fish. Okay.
Pretty much.
And have you done anything to get better at aiming for the spine? Like, do you take shot practices or?
No, just practice.
Just do it. Just
Yeah.
hit it. Just don't be shit. Like,
Yeah. I did hit a big one once. It really annoyed me. I wish I had that moment again over at the Mercs, and I hit this fish, but it hit the spine, but it was a big kingy, and the spear didn't go through it, and it didn't fight much, but it was just enough for the spear to pull out, and instead of just racing down and physically grabbing the fish, I tried to reload my gun, and what happened is the fish sort of just kicked a little bit, went downwards, hit the top of a big pinnacle, and it was like flopping around on the top of this pinnacle like half stuffed. And I was sort of diving down towards it, and it kicked off the edge of this pinnacle and just started falling deeper and deeper and deeper, and I was following it, but I couldn't catch up with it, and I lost it. And it was stuffed.
Gutted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was a bit sad.
Yeah.
But if I had my moment again, I would have. There's been a few things I wish had my moment again. I would have done things differently.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I guess that kind of rolls into, like, this is a bit of a hot tip that you would give yourself if you went back and started spearfishing again. Probably is a little tricky because you would have been like 10 or 12 when you started, right? So, young Simon. So I guess you could just say, like, what's a hot tip that you would give any person that's starting out?
I think, like initially when I started, I had a pretty rubbish gun. I had little toy fins. I had a mask, one of these big round masks, and all that. I was very young
Retro.
then. But when I started spearing a little bit more, correctly, doing things right. I think if I had a decent wetsuit, decent fins, proper gun, proper buoy line, a knife pouch in my, rather than one strapped to my leg and all that sort of thing, I would have been much more comfortable in the water. So I think good gear really helps you. You're just more comfortable, you're more warm, and then doing I found doing freediving courses. I've only done them for this year. I did all these AIDA courses, but joining the fundamentals, I'd done a lot more freediving rather than spearfishing, and I think I've learned a lot, just about breath holding, about safety, and CO2 and what my limits are, and plus, because we do pool training in the wintertime, I've kept my fitness up.
Yeah.
So rather than I used to go spearfishing summertime and then pretty much do stuff all during winter. And then the first time I'd go diving, it just about, I'd come back crippled, I'd be aching and sore and have, sore muscles, and I was tired, and where now, the first day of say if I went diving tomorrow, I could do a full-on diving day and come back feeling great.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I love that.
I guess that sort of brings us to the end of our questions, and to be honest, we will continue to ask you probably lots of annoying questions and stories as long as we spend time around you. But is there anything else that if anyone's sort of listening and learning about spearfishing, or just generally into spearfishing, that you'd sort of want to make comment on or let them know?
Just that it's a great sport, and you get lovely fish. You get to see so much. Even if you have a day where you don't actually pull the trigger, you still see stuff, and you still got some fitness out of it, and it's good for the body, good for the mind, and encourage people to do it.
Agreed, and that's why we're having these chats, is hopefully encourage some other people, but also shed some light on all of those different aspects you mentioned. It's not a bunch of us just out to get dinner. There's so many other aspects to spearfishing, and yeah, we appreciate you having us in your house, and you're obviously a culinary whiz. We had a very delicious dinner, and apparently there's dessert coming up.
We've cut the interview short. I just want to get to dessert, so...
But no, honestly, thanks heaps for sharing your story with us and hanging with us and talking to us all the time when you do. And yeah, hopefully, like we said, hopefully another adventure on Barbie coming up. Align all our schedules and...
I'll have to get you out on the yacht as well.
Oh, yes.
So keen. Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
really want to learn to sail. We're doing it this summer. I've got yarns to spread with you just straight after this also.
Off-air content, is it?
Yeah. At least once
Cool.
a trailer sailor.
But yes, no, thanks heaps, and hopefully everyone enjoys hearing your story like we did.
Thank you.
We wholeheartedly agree with Simon that spearfishing is good for the body and the mind, and anyone not seeing the underwater world really, truly is missing out. We look forward to spending a week with him in Stewart Island in December soon for the Nationals.
Well, we are off to piss excellence in the pool. As always, we appreciate you guys filling your ear holes. Feel free to email us on spearodiaries@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram and give us feedback, or suggest some future guests.
Toodles!